You felt the half second, the one where you watch your own hand move and you're already sorry. 93 minutes into the biggest match of his life, in front of a stadium in New Jersey and roughly a billion people at home, a professional midfielder slid into a tackle he did not need to make. The ball was already gone. The game was already stopping. Second yellow, red card, 10 men. And 13 minutes later, his team conceded the goal that ended their World Cup. He knew. That's the part. He knew exactly what was at stake, and his body did it anyway. Here's what the research on impulse control actually says, and it is not that he lost his head. It's that the part of your brain that says don't is the first part to switch off, and by minute 93, it had been switching off for a while. So why does your brain remove the brake at the exact moment you need it most? The thing that failed has a name: response inhibition. The job of stopping a movement your body has already started. It runs mostly through the right inferior frontal gyrus, and in 2003, Aron and Trevor Robbins found something very specific about it. The more damage a patient had to that exact patch of right frontal cortex, the worse they got at stopping. At stopping. Not at everything else, so this isn't character, and it isn't willpower. It's hardware, it's local, and it's the most expensive thing your head does all day. That's the same circuit that decides whether you hit send on the message you already typed. His had been running since kickoff. So has yours today since about 7 a.m. And here's the thing about that circuit. It's expensive and it's fragile in a specific order. Amy Arnsten spent a career on this at Yale, and her 2009 paper in Nature Review's Neuroscience laid out the mechanism. Under acute stress, your brain floods the prefrontal cortex with noradrenaline and dopamine. And past a certain concentration, those chemicals stop sharpening it. They take it offline. The connections between those neurons weaken within minutes. Meanwhile, the older, faster structures underneath get stronger, not damaged, promoted. And it goes in that order every time. Your vision holds, your balance holds, your legs keep doing the trained thing they've done since you were 9 years old. The part that quits first is the part that was supposed to overrule all of it. So stress doesn't make you dumber across the board, it reassigns you. It moves the decision out of the slow committee upstairs and hands it to the fast guy in the basement, who has exactly one policy, and the policy is do the thing now. You've met the fast guy. He's the reason you know exactly what you said, and you know you were watching yourself say it in real time, and you didn't stop. 4 hours into a bad day, 2 beers in. Third night of not enough sleep. The tired version of you isn't a worse person. It's the same person with a smaller break. Cool, mystery solved. Except that doesn't explain the first card because the yellow at minute 82 wasn't for a tackle. It was for talking to the referee. That's a completely different failure. A late challenge is a body doing something stupid with its legs. Arguing with an official is a body responding to a status problem. Someone with authority has just told you publicly that you were wrong, and something in you needs to correct the record right that second. That reaction runs on older wiring than deliberate foul play does. In 2003, Naomi Eisenberger, Matthew Lieberman, and Kipling Williams put people in a scanner and had them quietly excluded from a simple online ballgame by strangers they would never meet. The dorsal anterior cingulate lit up, which is a region that also tracks the distress of physical pain. Neuroscientists still argue about how literally to read that overlap. Your body appears to have settled the question without waiting for them. Social threat doesn't arrive as an abstraction. And your break has to work harder against that than against almost anything else, which is why you can sit through a 60-minute meeting without moving a muscle, and then lose your entire composure in the 4 seconds after somebody says, actually, the tackle at 93 was the expensive failure. The card at 82 was the warning light, and nobody in that stadium read it that way, including him. But that can't be the full answer, because if he knew a second yellow meant a red, and he did, everybody in the building did, then knowing should have been enough. It wasn't. And that gap has a name. George Lowenstein at Carnegie Mellon called it the hot-cold empathy gap, and he laid it out in 1996 in a paper titled Out of Control. The claim is simple, and it's worse than it sounds. When you're calm, you cannot accurately simulate what you'll do when you're not. Your cold self sincerely believes it's making a promise on behalf of your hot self. It isn't. It's making a promise about a stranger. In 2006, Lowenstein ran it with Dan Ariely. Same men, same questions about what they would and would not do. Asked once in a neutral state and once in an aroused one. The two sets of answers didn't match. And the men weren't lying either time. They just had no access to each other. So the man walking away with a yellow at minute 82 genuinely intended to do nothing else that night. He was a different chemical situation than the man at minute 93, and he had no way to reach him. Neither do you. You have made that exact promise to yourself in a calm room about a situation that had not happened yet. And here's where it gets stupid. It means the failure isn't random. It's scheduled. You can predict roughly when your break will be thinnest. Late, tired, losing, watched. And you still can't feel it coming because feeling it coming would require already being in the state you're trying to avoid. Which raises a different, dumber question. Why can't science just tell you how much control you've got left? For about 20 years it thought it could. Roy Baumeister's 1998 experiments gave us ego depletion, the idea that willpower is a fuel tank. Resist the cookies now, quit sooner on the puzzle later. Spend it, and it runs dry. It's a clean story. It's on a poster in somebody's high school classroom right now. You've probably repeated it at a party. Then, in 2016, Martin Hager coordinated a replication across 23 separate labs, and the effect came back at approximately 0. So the one tidy explanation we had for why people break under pressure could not itself hold together under pressure. Don't think about that too hard. What survived is smaller and much less satisfying. Fatigue and stress degrade the inhibition circuit reliably, and nobody can hand you a fuel gauge for it. But that can't be the full answer either, because none of it explains why the stakes in the failure line up quite so precisely. Except they do, and we did that. We're the species that invented the finish line. The penalty shootout, the closing argument, the final exam, the last 10 minutes of a negotiation, the 2 a.m. deadline. We take the situations that matter most to us and we deliberately schedule the most important moment inside them for the exact point where the human being standing there has the least break left. Then we watch. No other animal stages its own worst decisions. We sell tickets to ours. He didn't lose his head in the 93rd minute. He arrived there on schedule carrying the standard equipment, and the equipment did what it does at minute 93. You'd have done it too. That isn't a comfort, and I'm not offering it as one. Now you know. Sorry.